Be that guy who refuses to let pain become a prison. Be that guy who takes what was meant to destroy him and uses it to rebuild himself into something stronger than ever before. There comes a time in every person's life when the world goes dark, when you are pushed to your knees, when your soul feels cracked and your strength has drained into nothing. That moment is not the end. That moment is your beginning. Pain does not come to destroy you. It comes to reveal you. Pain is the mirror you never wanted, but desperately needed. It strips away the masks. It rips open the fake layers we wear for the world. It shows us what we're made of, not in theory, but in reality. Comfort makes promises, but pain delivers transformation. That's why true strength isn't built in the luxury of easy days. It's built in the war zone of long nights, broken dreams, silent cries, and the decision to keep going anyway. When life shatters your plans, be that guy who doesn't shatter with them. Because that guy, the one who rises when everything inside him screams to quit, is a rare breed. Most people break in the face of pain. They run from it, they numb it, they curse it. But not you. You learn from it. You grow through it. You become dangerous because of it. You become that guy the world didn't expect, but now can't ignore. There's a reason why warriors are forged in fire, not just to fight, but to become fearless. The fire teaches you. It humbles you. It burns away the excuses. It tests your resolve, your vision, your belief, your identity. And when you walk through it, when you refuse to turn back, you don't come out the same. You come out reborn. The scars you carry aren't signs of weakness. They are stamps of survival. And every scar tells a story not of defeat, but of endurance. The world will try to measure you by how pretty your life looks, but pain will measure you by something far deeper, who you become when no one is watching. Be that guy who becomes his own rescue mission. Be that guy who stops waiting for someone to come fix it, and instead stands up, bloody, bruised, but still breathing, and says, "I'll figure it out." There's something dangerous, something revolutionary about a man who refuses to fold. Because once you stop fearing pain, you start becoming invincible. Pain can teach you more than victory ever could. Victory tells you you're good enough. Pain tells you you're not done yet. And that's the truth that will stretch you, shape you, and eventually strengthen you. It's easy to look powerful when everything's going right. But the ones who become legends are the ones who look powerless but keep pushing forward anyway. They don't complain. They convert. They don't sit in the ashes. They build from them. Maybe you're going through something right now. Maybe the weight feels unbearable. Maybe the nights are too long and the mornings too hopeless. Maybe you're asking, when will this end? But I challenge you to ask a better question. What is this trying to build in me? Because pain is a builder. It builds courage. It builds grit. It builds focus. It builds soul. You don't grow from what's easy. You grow from what breaks you and then demands that you rebuild yourself with your own hands. This journey will ask everything from you. Your strength, your patience, your pride, your past. It will strip you down until you think there's nothing left. And then, in that moment, you'll find your real self. The self that doesn't depend on applause, on comfort, on outside validation. The self that is raw, real, and unshakable. Be that guy who uses every betrayal, every loss, every failure as bricks to build a fortress of greatness. When they talk about you, let them say, "He's different, he kept going." When the storm came, you didn't run. When the pain hit, you didn't numb it. When your world collapsed, you didn't collapse with it. You stood, even if your legs shook. You fought, even if your hands trembled. You rose, even if the world didn't notice. That's real power. Not the loud, arrogant kind that seeks attention, but the silent, unbreakable kind that moves in shadows and changes everything it touches. You see, pain is a teacher, but only if you let it teach you. Some let it make them bitter. You let it make you better. Some let it crush them. You let it carve you. Some use it as a reason to quit. You use it as fuel to conquer. That's the difference. You turned the why me into watch me. You turned wounds into wisdom. You turned heartbreak into hunger. You turned your breakdown into your breakthrough. Be that guy who people underestimated until they had to sit and watch you win, not because it was easy, but because you made a choice to not waste your pain. Your pain has power, but it will only become power when you take responsibility for it. Own it. Don't excuse it. Don't hide it. Don't downplay it. Because when you take your pain and face it head on, when you grab it by the throat and say, "You will not destroy me," that's the moment you become dangerous to every excuse, every doubt, every weakness that once controlled you. People will wonder how you did it. They'll look at the fire you walked through and ask, "How are you still standing?" But they won't understand that you didn't just survive the fire, you used it to become the fire. Be that guy who doesn't just heal, he helps others heal by living as proof that it's possible. You know what's more powerful than a strong man? A strong man who's been broken and still chooses to love, to build, to lead, to serve. Be that guy. The one who turns his worst day into someone else's hope. The one who doesn't just talk about strength, he embodies it. You see, pain is a gift most people reject, but when you unwrap it, when you stop resisting and start learning, it becomes the greatest catalyst for your transformation. Because once you've been through real pain, you stop wasting time on the petty things. You become focused, you become intense, you become disciplined, you start walking different, speaking different, showing up different. You develop presence, energy, fire, and that fire, no one can give it to you. It only comes from surviving the flames. Pain is the birthplace of real power, not the kind you flex, but the kind that lasts, that moves nations, that shifts atmospheres, that wakes people up. Your response defines your destiny, not what happened to you, not what they did to you, not the circumstances, the losses, or the heartbreak. Your power is not in controlling life's storms, it's in how you respond when the storm comes. Life will hit you hard. That's not a maybe, it's a guarantee. It won't ask if you're ready. It won't wait for you to feel strong. It will come like a thief, uninvited, unexpected, and unforgiving. But in that moment, you are given a choice: respond like the masses or rise like the rare. Everyone wants destiny. Few want discipline. Everyone wants greatness. Few are willing to suffer for it, because destiny isn't given, it's shaped, it's earned, it's forged in fire. And the fire doesn't care about your comfort, your schedule, or your excuses. It comes to test what you truly believe. It comes to see if your words match your actions. It comes to separate those who are interested from those who are committed. It's not about what happens. It's never about what happens. It's about how you respond. You see, two people can go through the same pain, the same setback, the same betrayal, and come out with two completely different lives. One chooses bitterness, the other chooses breakthrough. One chooses the role of victim, the other chooses the path of victory. It's not about what happened, it's about what they did with it. That's where destiny is made. That's where character is born. That's where the ordinary fall and the extraordinary rise. So when life hits you, and it will, your job isn't to avoid it. Your job is to respond like someone who refuses to stay down. You may cry, you may bleed, you may lose sleep, you may question yourself, but what you don't do is quit. What you don't do is give up. What you don't do is let the circumstances write your story. You write it. You pick up the pen and you write it with fire. Your response is the pen, your pain is the ink, and your actions are the pages. Every chapter of your story is being written not when things are going great, but when things fall apart. That's when your true legacy begins. Not when you win, not when you're applauded, not when it's easy, but when it's dark, when it's lonely, when everything inside of you says stop, and you still whisper back, "I'm not done." That whisper, that response is everything. The greats weren't born with more talent, more luck, more money. They were just relentless in how they responded to failure. They didn't let a loss define their life. They didn't let a betrayal define their trust. They didn't let the pain define their purpose. They responded like warriors, like architects of their own future, like people who refused to be a product of their problems. If you want to change your life, stop trying to change your past. Start changing your response, because life will keep testing you. That test isn't meant to punish you, it's meant to promote you, but only if you pass it. How do you pass it? You respond with courage when fear is all around. You respond with faith when doubt feels like a tidal wave. You respond with focus when everything tries to distract you. You respond with discipline when every cell in your body wants to drift back into comfort. You respond with hunger when everything tells you to be satisfied with average. It's easy to be motivated on the good days. It's easy to have vision when the doors are opening. But what about when everything goes quiet? What about when the phone stops ringing, when the results don't show up, when people stop clapping? That's the defining moment. That's when your response decides your future. Do you stop or do you sharpen your skills in silence? Do you collapse or do you rebuild brick by brick? Do you retreat or do you rise? You want to know who someone really is. Watch them when they're under pressure. Pressure doesn't lie. Pressure reveals. It reveals whether you were built for comfort or you were built for greatness. It reveals whether you've been training or just talking. It reveals whether you're here for the spotlight or the substance. Your response under pressure is what writes your legacy. That's why life sends storms, not to destroy you, but to develop you, to strengthen your roots, to make sure your foundation is unshakable. Because if you only rise when it's easy, you'll fall the first time it's not. But if you learn to rise in the hard times, if you learn to respond with grit, with grace, with unshakable faith, then nothing can take you down, not forever. You have that power inside you. You don't need permission, you don't need perfect timing, you just need to decide. Decide that no matter what comes, you will respond like someone who knows who they are. Someone who's not defined by circumstances, but by commitment. Someone who doesn't react out of fear, but responds with focus. Someone who knows destiny doesn't come to the weak, it comes to the willing. The ones who choose strength not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. Because life isn't fair. You'll face betrayal by people you trusted. You'll have dreams collapse. You'll experience loss that shakes you. But that's not your finish line. That's your formation. That's where champions are born. Not in applause, but in adversity. So what do you do when life hits? Do you whine or do you work? Do you panic or do you prepare? Do you run or do you rise? Your future is hiding behind your answer to that question. Be the one who responds like a warrior. Be the one who responds like a builder. Be the one who responds like someone who's already seen the finish line, even when they're crawling through the fire. Every time life knocks you down, you are being given a gift, the opportunity to rise with even more force. Every time someone underestimates you, you're being handed fuel to go even harder. Every time you fail, you're being taught something that success never could, if you respond correctly. So don't let a bad moment turn into a bad mindset. Don't let a bad chapter convince you that your book is over. Don't let a mistake become your identity. Respond with clarity, respond with fight, respond with fire. Let people be shocked by your resilience. Let your bounce back speak louder than your breakdown. Let your comeback write a story that inspires generations. You see, people remember how you responded, not just how you succeeded. They remember how you handled failure, criticism, setbacks, silence, and struggle, because that's where your real greatness lies, not in perfection, but in persistence. That's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. The ordinary wait for the right conditions. The extraordinary create their own. The ordinary blame the world. The extraordinary build something better. The ordinary wait for permission. The extraordinary give themselves authority. So what will you be? Will you be ordinary, tossed around by life's waves, reactive, bitter, tired? Or will you be extraordinary, anchored, focused, built from battle? It's not a matter of chance, it's a matter of response. Because your response builds your habits build your character, and your character builds your destiny. When life gives you 100 reasons to stop, respond with one powerful reason to keep going. When you get knocked down 7 times, get up 8. When they tell you it's over, respond with, watch me. When your own mind tries to sabotage you with fear, respond with action. When the door shuts, build your own door. When they laugh, when they doubt, when they walk away, respond by becoming so great that they regret ever counting you out. You are not your setbacks. You are not your failures. You are not your trauma. You are how you responded to those things. You are what you did next. You are the decisions you made in the dark, the thoughts you fought when no one else knew, the courage you showed when your hands were shaking. You don't need perfect, you need powerful, you need consistent, you need conviction. Respond with fire, respond with love, respond with faith, respond with focus. Respond like someone who's been through hell and decided to become the architect of heaven. Respond like someone who has seen the worst, but still believes the best is yet to come. Your response is your weapon. Use it wisely. Be the example, not the excuse. Be the person who takes the hits life throws and doesn't just stand back up. He rises with a mission. He rises not just for himself, but for every eye silently watching, for every soul looking for proof that it can be done. Because somewhere, someone is watching how you handle your pain, your pressure, your process. And how you rise from it might just give them permission to rise from theirs. You don't need to wait for someone to rescue you, to choose you, to approve of you. You were born with everything you need to lead, to carry, to lift, to rise. The only thing holding most people back is the belief that they're waiting for someone else to go first. But what if no one goes first? What if the change they're hoping for starts with you? That's why you can't afford to blend in. You can't afford to use the same old excuses. I didn't have support. I didn't get a fair shot. I was too broken. Excuses are easy. They feel safe. They protect you from responsibility, but they also protect you from greatness, because no one ever became unforgettable by making excuses. The world doesn't need another excuse maker. It's full of them. The world needs examples. The world needs proof that pain can become purpose, that weakness can become strength, that your worst day can become the foundation of your best chapter. And if no one around you has shown that yet, be the first. Be the example that changes your bloodline. Be the one who breaks the cycle, the silence, the fear, the shame, the poverty, the violence, the self-doubt, all of it. Be the one who walks through fire and comes out stronger, not bitter. Be the one who doesn't pass pain forward, but turns it into healing. You don't need perfection. You don't need the right background. You just need one choice, the choice to stop pointing fingers and start building a life that silences every excuse. People will give you plenty of reasons to settle, to shrink, to stop. They'll tell you to take it easy, that it's too late, that you've messed up too much. Don't listen. Don't inherit their fear. Be the example they never saw coming. Be the one they doubted who still did it. Be the one who didn't quit when it got ugly, who fought, who rebuilt, who made it work with what he had. The truth is, nobody's coming to give you a second chance. You have to create it. You have to carve it out with your own hands. You have to decide that where you are right now is not where your story ends. You have to look at the mirror and say, I am responsible for what happens next. Because excuses feel good in the moment, but they age like poison. They kill your drive. They numb your ambition. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the only thing standing between the life you wanted and the life you lived was the story you told yourself about why you couldn't. So stop waiting. Start becoming. Start becoming the man who didn't need perfect conditions to rise. He created his own momentum. He turned every scar into a badge of honor. He didn't hide his past. He used it to light the way for others. He became a walking example of transformation. You want real impact? Be that man. Be the guy who gets up at 5 a.m. while others sleep in. Be the guy who forgives even when it still hurts. Be the guy who shows up when no one is watching. Be the guy who takes responsibility when it's hard and refuses to play the blame game. That's what makes leaders. That's what makes legacy. Excuses don't leave legacies, examples do. The man who became the example wasn't the one with the easiest path. He was the one who refused to stay down. He didn't just fight for himself, he fought for the next generation. He fought so that others wouldn't have to fight the same battles. He carried burdens no one saw and never asked for praise, because he wasn't doing it for applause. He was doing it because he knew, if not me, then who? Every man has a choice. You can be the echo of your pain or the evidence of your progress. You can be a cautionary tale or an inspiring example. And the difference between the two isn't circumstance, it's courage. The world has enough people pointing fingers. Be the man who points the way forward. Be the one who takes full ownership, not just of your victories, but of your failures, your flaws, your healing, your decisions. Because leadership isn't about titles, it's about taking responsibility. When people hear your story, let them see that your wounds weren't the end of you. They were the beginning of something unstoppable. Let your story be the light in someone else's tunnel. Let it scream that redemption is real, that growth is possible, that change can happen. But none of that happens if you hide, if you bury your truth, if you shrink in fear of not being ready. You'll never be fully ready. You just have to start anyway. Start where you are, with what you have, in the mess, in the confusion, in the struggle. That's where examples are born, in the real, in the raw, in the trenches of life. No example ever rose from comfort. They rose from chaos. And in that chaos, they chose vision, they chose values, they chose action. You can do the same. Be the guy who stayed faithful when it would have been easier to fold. Be the guy who turned down easy money for long-term integrity. Be the guy who stayed consistent even when no one praised him. Be the guy who raised his standards, not just for the world, but for himself. You want to inspire others. Don't just tell them what to do. Show them what's possible. Show them what resilience looks like. Show them what discipline looks like. Show them what accountability looks like. That's what speaks louder than words. That's what lasts. And when you feel like giving up, when the pressure feels unbearable, when the results are slow, when the road looks too long, remember why you started. Remember who's watching. Remember the younger version of you who prayed for a leader like the man you're becoming. Be the answer to that prayer. Be the example that you never had. Be the one who walks in purpose when others wander. Be the one who finishes strong. And yes, you'll have setbacks. You'll have days when you question everything. That's part of the process. But don't let those moments make you forget who you are. Scars don't disqualify you. They authenticate you. They are proof that you were in the fight. That you didn't just read about pain. You survived it. You outlasted it. And now, because of that, you have something powerful, credibility. You've earned the right to lead, not with words, but with presence, with story, with quiet strength. So carry that strength with pride. Walk tall, walk with purpose, walk like someone who knows the cost of victory and still chooses to pay it. You will be misunderstood, you will be mocked, you will be challenged. Good. That means you're doing something worth noticing. That means you're not just going with the current, you're pushing against it. That means you're not just existing, you're transforming. And transformation is never comfortable, but it's always worth it. Be the example that turns heads, that turns hearts, that turns the tide. Because one example, one man who rises, who stands, who speaks truth, who walks with courage, can shift everything, can create a ripple effect through generations. Your life has that power. Your choices matter more than you know. Every time you choose to rise instead of retreat, to forgive instead of hate, to build instead of blame, you are becoming that man, the example. So don't wait. Don't ask for permission. Don't look for someone to go first. Be the one. Be the one who proves that the pain had a purpose, that the past didn't win, that the struggle wasn't wasted, that you turned scars into strength and stories into significance. Be the example, not the excuse.